uh, so what this is today, this is what we call a founder series presentation of the Foundation for Climate Restoration. And I'm Mark Batchelder. I'm co-chair of the membership team along with Joan Bordeaux. And we meet, this group meets, this call is made every week at this time. And most weeks it's a community call, and we get together and we share with each other what we've been up to and what's happening. And once a month we have a special guest, and this week we have two, in fact, Sandy and Lon Golnick. And so this is a special presentation. We call this a Founder Series presentation. And if you're new here, we're thrilled to have you. And that is what we are up here today. So just to get started, I want to bring up and bring everybody in touch again with what the Foundation for Climate Restoration is up to. And I'm going to give you I'm going to recreate for us all the vision and the commitment of the Foundation for Climate Restoration. So our vision and commitment is a restored climate by 2050. And our commitment as well is that by 2030, climate restoration becomes the overarching goal of all climate action. A climate restored means that we've created a climate similar to that which humanity has thrived in for time immemorial. And we are calling that an atmosphere with CO2 levels below 300 parts per million. So we have an objective measure of what that is. And our mission is to generate the social license and the political will to restore the climate. So Julia Dederer is on our board of directors, and she works closely with Joan and I on the membership committee. And she's going to be our moderator today and in the conversation with Lon and Sandy Golnick. And so I want to introduce Julia here. And this is going to be a real live conversation. And Julia, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, I'll take it from here. I'm going to pass it along immediately, though, because it is Carol England and Jeff who suggested that Lon and Sandy would be perfect for one of our Founders series some months ago. And I'm going to let them introduce Lon and Sandy, although I could do it myself. But they have a whole different thing that they would like to say. And I had a wonderful conversation with them yesterday where we realized that this is going to be less of a presentation rather than all of us exploring together with Lon and Sandy. And I've known Lon and Sandy since it's getting on 50 years. And both of them had been committed to the work of transformation. And I asked them, I said, what I love about it is that people come into this community. Each of us have our special gifts. I have particular skills and training from my background. We all do. If I look around the room here, we all have particular skills and commitments. They really got passionate about our mission, which is that we are committed to restoring the climate. And they wanted to bring the skills that they have to this community. So I'll be handing it over to Carol and Jeff now.
Great, Julia, thank you. And and I'm going to repeat myself, so listen carefully. We, the four of us, invite you all, sitting on the edge of your chair would really be best if you can do that, to engage in this exploration, generating what's possible, fulfilling on the commitment to restore the climate in relationship and community. So I'm going to repeat that. It's a lot to say in a short time. We invite all of you we, the four of us, and Julia too, I'm sure, and Joan and Mark, to engage in this exploration, generating what's possible, fulfilling on the commitment to restore the climate in relationship and community. Mr. England.
Without further ado, so others commented that everyone wants a front row seat, and that conjured up the introduction I will make. Is I want to introduce you to Sandy and Lon, who Carol and I and many others would agree are the rock stars of relationship.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
So,
you.
Take it away, rock stars.
Yeah, right. Well, kind of as an introduction, Sandy led the Landmark Forum for Children and Young People for a long time, and I led the adult version. And so we have that as a kind of a shared background with a lot of you.
And we've also been married for 60 years. So when you talk about there being two of us, thank you, everyone. Two of us, we don't oftentimes think of ourselves that way. We think of ourselves as a we. And when I look around, the we just expands as I look at the screen, because we are all in this together. And you happen to be the right people at the right time, right here today. So we're thrilled and honored to be with you and to engage with you and what we call play with you as we explore what has relationship got to do with climate restoration.
A little over 20 years ago, given Sandy's love for young people and families and doing work in that area, we decided to do some work for hopefully transforming families. And after a couple of years of that, or a few years of that, we realized that a family is a network of relationships. And that was kind of an interesting insight, like, oh, it's about relationship. And the problem is when we use that word relationship, we didn't know what we're talking about. We had no idea. And when we started asking people, what is a relationship, we got enough different answers that we got confused. So the first thing we did was to kind of look and see if we could come up with what a relationship is. Like, what are we all talking about when we're talking about a relationship? And that gives insight as to what we're talking about when we're talking about a family, gives insight what we're talking about when we're talking about a community. So it's one thing to have a name community, it's another thing to live as a community. And that's kind of, I suppose, what Carol and Jeff are referring to when they call us rock stars. I don't know that a lot of people, in fact, we doubt that many of us here today have actually asked the question, what is a relationship? We just live inside of an assumption of what a relationship is and what relationships are about. And we're not so sure that our assumptions are all that accurate most of the time. By the way, please feel free at any time to raise hands, say something, ask something. We're going to ask you to engage in a couple of questions later, but really feel free to engage in this as a kind of an exploration. I like the term exploration rather than a presentation.
Yes, for sure. But one of the first things we wanted to acknowledge is that the likelihood of the people on this call stepping beyond your comfort zone is really very high. I can't imagine there isn't a single person here who hasn't stepped out to make sure that other people know about this possibility of climate restoration. How many of you have been talking to people, sharing with people, engaging with people, opening your mouth about it, right? But we also know that there might have been moments and times in which it didn't go well, or at least not the way you hoped. So what we'd like to begin to explore is what is there what gets in the way of us really fulfilling on our own intention for having people begin to know more, understand, be engaged, join with us in this endeavor, this commitment that we all share. What has been the thing or things that has gotten in your way when you came to those moments in time where you said, oh, well, that one didn't go well, or guess we'll have to try something else, or boy, was that didn't turn out at all. So what got in your way? And we're going to start with whatever hands go up. We're going to give you the opportunity to say what was there when it didn't go the way you wanted it to go. So Carol and Jeff.
And we are, by the way, we are kind of assuming some things get in the way from time to time.
Yes.
They have for us, and we don't hold ourselves as all that unusual. So we're sure that from time to time, almost a little bit like politics, it's sometimes hard to bring it up with your own family and your own the people that you're close with. It's kind of like that. So this is one of those times where we just step out and speak.
Absolutely. All right, Carol and Jeff, please take it away.
So I would offer, I'm sure it's true for many others, that we, as a default way of being in community, we tend to find a safe sort of groove that, unspoken limits, like bumper rails on the way we interact. And most of us have a sense of what questions or what statements we might make might risk, getting out beyond the bumper rails and upsetting the equilibrium that I don't know. I want to say that we enjoy. It's not that we enjoy so much as we feel safe within.
Yeah.
So it's the fear of upsetting the equilibrium of a sort of safe, limited relationship.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Carol, do you want to add anything about your experience of this?
You don't even have to ask. Carol always wants to add.
Bravo, Carol.
The thing that
No bumper rails on Carol.
Yeah. Well, I do from time to time hesitate. I often offer Peter's book. I've been, tell people about climate restoration and offer Peter's book. I don't always get a yes to that. I did offer one recently and he asked for it in German and I didn't have a chance to get it to him in German. I know it's on Amazon in German, but what I tend to do, and I do jump in a lot. I've talked to waiters, I've talked to all kinds of people, but I do notice that I tend to kind of put an ear to the ground and kind of feel my way. Like, does this look like someone might engage with me about it? Or not. And that's where, if it comes up or not, I don't always engage, even though Jeff says I do.
And what's there when you don't, Carol?
When you mean that, like the fear, what's there?
So you
I would say it's like a fear, like I'm going to piss people off.
Okay, good. Anybody else on this screen have that consideration or concern that you might piss somebody off? Okay, Carol, thanks for speaking for people.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, let's hear from Adrian and Philip now about what's there for them.
Well, I've done a lot of tabling where we go to events like a market in San Rafael and we set up a table. And I would say what happens or what's there when it doesn't work is I'm not interested. I'm busy. I gotta go. I got an appointment. I'm just going to my car. I don't have time for this. And Cynthia, who's the master of tabling, is like a barracuda. She will follow people to their cars. Her range, like we have a table, and basically, the range people, you see them coming, and you try to make eye contact, but to get them to slow down, to discover that maybe they are interested is quite a challenge. But Cynthia, her range is like 30 feet on each side. She like walks right up to people instead of waiting them to
Philip,
come over. Yes,
Philip, one question though. I want to come back to you.
yes.
What's there for you when you are in that place where people are saying, I'm not interested, I got things to do? What's there for you?
Or even before you find out if they're interested or not.
Yep.
Well, there's some fear that they're going to be not interested or not engaged or, you know, some version of looking good or not looking good, or who knows what their thoughts are about me. You know, what's there for me is
Very
like,
good.
what are they going to think of me? I mean, what am I doing out here trying to get them to
Great.
stop on their way to their car with their
Great.
kids?
How many people can relate to what Philip has just said? Yep. What are they thinking? What does it mean about me? Et cetera, et cetera. Very good, Philip. Thank you very much.
Well, sometimes it's even worse than having the question, what are they thinking? You're quite sure that they're not thinking well of you, or they're thinking something of you that you'd rather not have them be thinking of you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Adrian, anything you'd like to add?
Well, mine is fear of rejection. That they're
Okay.
gonna keep on walking, not even say anything. And so I'm fear they're gonna reject me without even finding out anything about climate restoration.
Yep. How many people got that one? Yeah. Thank you, Adrian. Very good. All right. Is that you, Maureen and Greg?
Yeah.
There's a hand left.
I think
Oh, sorry.
Judy and Brian are
Yes.
before us.
Yes. You know,
Yes.
it's interesting, the hand on my screen has your hand, Judy, be very light. So I'm sorry I missed it. So I'm
Yeah.
calling on you now, and then
Against-
we'll get to Maureen and Greg.
All right, thanks. So what this made me think of are probably limits that I place on myself about the kinds of conversations I'll get into because I think I don't know enough. And when I know more, then I could have more conversations with more people. And just an example of that, you know, because there's a lot of disasters going on right now, I feel very comfortable in that arena. You know,
Yeah.
I can talk about trauma all day long. I can talk about what people are going through and the need to look at climate restoration. But I think if I get into it with people and they have questions or they are confronting in some way, that I won't know enough.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliantly said.
It's kind of like we present that like our knowledge or our understanding rather than present ourselves.
Mm.
Because maybe ourselves aren't going to live up to what needs to, you know, be seen or thought of by these other people.
Sandy and
Judy,
Lon,
that's-
one thing,
Yeah.
people, if you're not talking, would you mute yourself and then come off mute when you're raising your hand and called on?
Thanks, Julia.
Mhm.
Great. And Brian, was there something you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. So a fear that you don't know enough, or a consideration, a concern, all of those are levels of fear. Can you see that? If it's a consideration, that's a fear. If it's a concern, it's a fear. It's not just like, you know, woo, scared, but fear, an underlying concern or consideration. All right, now Maureen and Greg.
Hey, thank you. So actually, I'm really loving what everybody says because I think we all can relate to everything everybody has said. And you know, what I kind of get is that, I mean, I know that I don't have all the answers and but I have an opinion. I have a position. And often, you know, I can start with a question. And sometimes, you know, the answer isn't so great. It's kind of like, I don't have time for that, or I don't believe in that, or it doesn't really concern me. But I mean, I try to get related first. And, you know, sometimes those answers actually, you know, push me back and say, yeah, I got it. But if I'm able to kind of push forward a little bit to try to be a little bit related and kind of go, yeah, I get it. You know, like we're all like really busy, but does it concern you that this is going on? You know, to kind of dig deeper. I think when you do fact to fact, I mean, because facts can always be changed, that's always a hard one. And I've been stopped with that for sure. So it's kind of like a one by one play. It's kind of like sometimes if I'm dealing with that person, I'm using a kind of different way of talking. And I have to kind of sit back a little bit. So I really have to take charge of myself. So first to say, you know, like, am I going to be related to this person? Am I going to be able to have a conversation with them? Is there an opening? And so, but I would say be brave. And there's a lot of rejection in being brave, for sure. I've had it. But I would just say keep going forward. But I don't know if I have an answer, but I just say it's different with each person.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Maureen. Thank you.
There's
Yeah.
something underneath all of it, when you start to look to see what we have, kind of what we have in common.
Yeah.
And it looks like for the most part, we kind of misidentify ourselves.
Yeah.
Often there's two things. One, very few of us really know who or what we are. And I'm really not kidding about that. You know, a lot of times people think we're our appearance, you know, but you can change your appearance and you'd still be you. You know, you can change your location, you'd still be you. You could change some of your uh, ways of presenting yourself, you'd still be you. And who you are makes a big difference with regards to, you know, what you're willing to present and how to relate to people.
I love that, Lon. I love that. And it does put you in a pause a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I love what you're saying. And because, you know, coming from authentically who you are and what matters to you often translates easily to somebody else. But if there's another agenda, maybe not so much. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not so
Well,
much.
when you're really expressing yourself, you're really putting yourself on the line, because it could be that who you are is not, you know, it's not your hair, you're not your nose, you're not your foot, you're not your, you know,
Job.
you're not your job, you're none of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's interesting to kind of see who we actually are by default. But some way or another, you might consider that who I am is something I say I have, but that kind of covers up who I am. Who I am in life is a point of view. Who I am in life is a way of looking at all of the rest of life, if you will. And when you really start to express that point of view, you're expressing yourself. That's why people argue for their opinions so much.
Seriously, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like if you lose the argument regarding your opinions, you're out of there. It's a break in relationship.
Yeah.
So it's really, you know, really worthwhile to see the risk that it really is in putting your ideas out there and putting your notions out there and putting your views out there and putting your stand out there.
Love it.
Because you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything you wanted to say, Greg?
Well, as I'm listening to everybody share how they feel and prepare before they even talk to another human being, I really relate to that, because I usually wait for someone to express some kind of concern. Like, common concern now is like house insurance costs and the fact you can't get insurance in major jurisdictions. Well, I predicted that 10 years ago because I studied property insurance rates and they've just climbed to oblivion, over the last 15 years. But when people express that concern, I often share what I happen to know about it. And they get, oh, really? And then something happens. It's not because normally I can't shut myself up fast enough to let it happen, but there's a conversation that comes out of their concern that can turn to whatever topic you want to present. And climate restoration is a compelling topic. Rather than
Yes.
being in denial about things, you could actually do something about this.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
that segue from people's natural concerns in life, there's always linkages, because we're all living in the same world. We're all paying property tax bills. We're all concerned that they're going up. And, if you're not, well, you're probably living in a tent. But there's all kinds of examples of issues like that connect directly. And people will invite you to talk about them because it's their concerns.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'd like you to kind of distinguish between natural and normal. I'm not so sure concerned or being concerned, i.e. mildly fearful, is necessarily natural. We have a family and we've had quite a few children and grandchildren around us. And when they're very small, there's not a lot of concern or fear. They kind of have to be around us for a while before they start to adapt to getting some, gaining some fear, some watch outness, So there's something about normal and natural that's worth really exploring. Because while it may be normal for people to have concerns like you and I in this conversation, maybe it's not all that natural. Maybe it's something learned or something pulled over ourselves. But at any rate, that's one of the things, because we'd like to suggest that when you are in touch with your natural self, then probably you're relatively fearless.
Mhm.
That might be an oxymoron, relatively fearless, but at any
It might be.
but anyway, something like that.
So I'd like to just take two more people who have their hands raised, and then we're going to shift that conversation a bit. And we're focusing in on what's there for you when you run up against that opportunity to share something about climate restoration and your mouth goes dry or your hands start to get all clammy or what's your heart beating goes pitter patter. What's there for you? So let's find out from Cynthia.
Well, I don't think anybody's mentioned it here yet, but there are some moments when I talk to somebody, they get extremely angry.
Yep.
I do get a little fearful because
Yep.
their anger just really comes out and yelling at me, and that's really hard to take. So there's certain people I don't even bother trying because I already formed opinion in my brain.
Yep.
That, they look like they're of a different elk. So I don't attempt to talk to some people, and then some I get totally shocked because I thought they looked open, and then all of a sudden, don't talk to me about that. That's a bunch of malarkey. It's like, ugh. So I just trying to learn how not to respond to that. But it does really frighten me, to be honest.
How many people have had somebody who's gotten angry at you when you were talking about climate restoration and they did not want to hear what you had to say? That's right. We want to start to
it's easier to
notice.
deal with people who are not interested than it is
Uh-huh.
for somebody who's anger. So, and usually what I tell the uninterested people is, well, I know you're not interested, but I truly believe that with climate restoration, there's going to be hope for our children and their future. And I just plant that little seed because I really do believe there's hope, and I'm hoping one little thing might lead to something else.
That's
Yeah.
great. Great. And you want to start to see that there are actions or ways of being that you take on when something has occurred that left you with that fear, that discomfort, that feeling like, somebody's angry or upset with you. There's now something that you are also taking on. So I want to start to reveal that too. I'm not sure how to pronounce.
One other thing,
do you-
though,
sorry,
Cynthia,
honey.
yeah, there's this anger when you start to drill down, you're probably going to find fear.
Yep.
You're probably going to find a way to deal with the fear that's there or avoid confronting a fear that's there. But what's underneath most angers, we can see it in our work with people and relationships, is fear. People,
Well, that's funny because that's one of my favorite quotes is that people make their choices either from fear or love. So I
Very
agree with
good.
that
Very good.
wholeheartedly.
which you've just touched on. A favorite distinction of ours is that the opposite of love is not hate. The
Mhm.
opposite of love is
It's
fear.
fear, exactly.
That's very great, Cynthia.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. Is it
Fear?
Oakvere?
Okay.
Please.
Yes. Thank you so much. There are two things I wanted to make comment on. One is the information gap. Why most of the people fall away, and they at times they say I don't have time, not willing, is because they don't have enough information. Two is about the dream. You find that all of us, we are in this call because we have a dream for climate restoration, and we have a dream for trying to see how best we can do things to support the future generation. And lastly is on how are we doing it? Are we doing it consistently, or we are not doing it consistently? As Mark said, we always have a weekly meeting. This is what we are doing consistently to help the information pass to the people. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now, what do you do? What is your action? What is your way of being when somebody has said, I'm not interested, I don't care, get lost, I'm angry? What do you do? What shows up for you in terms of your response to that? I'd just like to hear from a couple of people about that. What do you do? Come on. Yes, please, Mark.
Okay.
If I'm doing something like tabling or whatever, so I'm actually out openly soliciting conversations with people, but this works anytime. I try to approach it from a place of knowing that they're doing the best they can to take on the issues of our time, and not take it personally. And if there's any way at all, just to put a blessing in the conversation, say, thank you for taking a moment to be with me, or anything like that. So some way to put a little gratitude and grace into the moment.
Very good, Mark. Thank you. How many people here have found yourself holding back when it feels like you got burned a little bit? You got a little pushed away, so you started to hold back. What else? Any other ways of being, Peter? Great to see you, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to see you. It's like in my living room. My brother is a confirmed climate denier, and I've shared with him about the work that I do. And he doesn't deny the climate. He just believes that it's too expensive to do anything about it. And
Resigned?
No, he's positional about it because he actually basically consciously believes me that it costs almost nothing. But he also believes his political beliefs, which is that it's sort of a conspiracy of the liberal blah, blah, blah to tell people what to do. And so he holds both simultaneously. So he loves me and cares. And when I share with him what I'm doing, he gets very uncomfortable. And my response is just to share what I'm doing, in 10 or 12 seconds and then change the subject.
Yes, got it. That's what you do.
That's
Okay,
what I
anybody else do that? Like change the subject as fast as possible, right? Yes, thanks, Peter. That's great. I can
Joan,
relate
you
to
had your
that.
hand up, Joan.
Yep.
I did have my hand up, but then when you talked about being stopped, I forget how you said it, but it was just before Peter spoke. If they're not with me in the conversation, I will stop. And but quite frankly, the people I choose to talk to about it usually just we're in a conversation, which makes me feel that my net isn't wide enough. You know, if most of the people I'm speaking to, I can hold a conversation with and they can hold it with me, I'm suspicious. I'm quite suspect
Yes.
now of how wide is the net I'm casting.
Very good. Very good. Adrian and Philip.
Yeah, well, when I'm in a good space, I kind of let it roll off my back. Don't take it personally. Next, here comes someone else. And when I'm not being transformed at all, I find myself making them wrong. Like, what do you mean you're not interested? Like, just making them wrong, which isn't very useful for them or for me. But like I said, when I'm not being very transformed, I can go there.
That's very clear to me, what you said, Philip. How many of you get mad at people when they don't see it your way? Yeah. How many find yourself avoiding people so that you don't have to confront or run into that disappointment again, that they didn't see you, didn't understand you? Yes. So this is the stuff of relationship. This is the place where we, the people on this call, have something to bring. It's not something to change. It's not something to fix. It's something you bring, and we all have a gift. Every single person on this call and every person in the world has a gift to bring. And when we hide it, kind of like turn your light down dim, people can't find you. People can't get what you have to contribute and give to them. We start to be all about ourselves, and are we looking good? How are we doing? Are we saying the right things? Are we, knowledgeable enough, as I heard today as well? There are things that start to get in the way, and that which gets in the way is us. It's really our concerns that turn us inward. When you are present to what's just happening around you, rather than editing it, trying to change it, trying to fix it, all of the things we human beings get pulled into, which is quite normal. Quite normal. Nobody's wrong about this. That's just what we normally get sucked into when we get uncomfortable. You feel it in sensations in your body even. So we tend to retreat into ourselves rather than out here. And it takes real courage. And you are the kind of people who have it, because you would not be here if you didn't have what it takes to go out. You just have to get clear that there is nobody else coming except who you are and what you bring to the conversations you have with people. So I don't.
Some of this has to do with your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
It's not only with another person, but your relationship with yourself. There's doubts, there's concerns, there's wonders, there's not so sures, that kind of a thing about yourself. And when that starts to get illuminated, then you can kind of watch ourselves get protective. And again, one of the ways to protect yourself is to get angry, and so if you do get somebody angry by what you're saying, you're pretty close to who they consider themselves to be. They're a little bit concerned, they're a little bit worried, they're a little bit become a little bit aggressive and defensive.
Defensive.
And we're all there at some moments. We're all there, kind of concerned about ourselves, and in a sense, having the fears more present, our own fears about ourselves more present than our acceptance of ourselves.
It includes accepting others where they are. They're not going to be in fantasy land. They're going to be in their world. And the opportunity for us, all of you, is to be able to allow them to be where they are, first and foremost.
Which could be said to be what love actually is accepting, all other points of view, being accepting of all other points of view. And when you're accepting of other points of view, there's a kind of some room, there's some space to be. There's not a lot of battling going on, including internal battling.
And tends to show up as affinity and liking for,
loving
and maybe
yourself.
Love for those around us, and the opportunity to create and play and to engage and to explore. See, that's really who we are those which are up to it. There's a very close dear friend of mine who I'd like to just share a little bit about her. She's somebody who is got a light. We all have a light. We all have an energy. We all have this kind of glow about us. Many times we don't notice it because we're busy judging and evaluating ourselves and others. So we don't see that light. But when the light's turned on, that energy moves masses, moves negativity. It creates an opening to play, engage, and come up with things that you totally never had thought of before. So I have this friend who's quite creative, and she's quite a bit of a yes person, I'd say. And the one thing I'd know is every now and then she would express a concern or a worry or a fear. And what I began to see is that in community, we have an opportunity to empower ourselves and each other and those around us. So what I told my friend to do is to just simply put on our big girl panties and get out there. So in a way today, we want to make sure you know that we are inviting you, asking you, beseeching you to get your big girl panties and big boy whatevers
trousers
on. Yeah, too boring. And get out there and play. And let your light turn on. Let that light be out there. Even in the face of those who may not be at the moment where you are about climate restoration. It's about getting them. It's about allowing them to be there such that it grants room for it to disappear, to dissolve. Because every time you resist somebody, guess what? There's resistance back.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're on the brink of a new breakthrough in playing. We're inviting every one of you to turn your light on.
Love yourself and love others.
Absolutely. And get out there in your big girl, you know what, and your big boy, you know what, and play. This is your community. But you know what? We could use a lot of screens of people who are invited to play with us And every now and then, one of those that looked grouchy when you first saw them, when you start to be with them, they're going to say, sure, I want to play with you. Sure, I want to come be there, because that's what I'm committed to as well.
And notice if you have any fear, there's the kind of like the presence of love is missing. And when there is love, which is accepting the other the way they are, then there's the fear is missing.
Yes, what would you like to add, Julia?
Oh, a couple of things.
Please.
Number one, it's like when I'm in a conversation that's uncomfortable, it's first and foremost, it isn't about them. It's I'm uncomfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I have a standard of myself that I can talk to people. I have a standard, and often I fail at that standard.
Mhm.
So I hold back when I miss my standard, rather
Yes.
than I could actually say, wow, that makes me really sad what you just said.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually could say I'm feeling really sad
Absolutely.
Yeah.
because, there's all kinds of things happening in this world. And, and I even could say things are going to hell in a handbasket. Have you noticed? Yeah, I mean, I know you read just the papers like I do. But I could grant myself room to be flawed in that conversation, and I could grant myself space to be um, for them to think I'm an idiot. I mean, I'm 76 years old. I've been an idiot. I've been an idiot almost every day of my life. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the cup.
Yeah.
For being an idiot. And so I can grant myself looking bad in that conversation.
Yeah. And
As
granting
well as
yourself
saying,
space really is loving yourself.
yes, exactly. In that conversation, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Granting him being, but how about granting myself being at not knowing what to say next?
Yeah.
And say, I don't know what to say next to you. I'm just like gobsmacked
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that this isn't real for you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Just allow that. But also, Sandy, I want you to tell the story that you told me yesterday. In the young person's forum, they always said, don't forget your light. Was that it?
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's
Make sure
something
you.
you said to us about 10 minutes ago, which was people, I mean, I think of people on this call who are lit up, like really lit up. And I'll name just a couple. Cynthia, Carol England. It's like, I don't care what they're talking about. I want to be around them,
That's right.
because they're lit up. And I want to know what they're doing. I want to know what they care about, because so it isn't so much, I know this, but I'm getting it at a whole new level. It isn't so much what I know, it's when I let myself be calm and lit up, like not reactivated, but maybe the most important part is feeling good about myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I may blow it with this person I'm about to talk to, and I'm fully able to say I just blew that. I don't know what I really meant when I said that, but I'm kind of scared of you.
Yes.
You're
Perfect.
kind of scary the way you come at me with that you don't get this.
Yeah.
But I really am getting what you said in the beginning about it. Maybe it's just an over here. Like I got this phrase the other day. I'm a full-time job. That's the job, is taking care of myself and making sure I feel well. Because when I feel well, I'm out there and people want to play with me. Now you talked about children and how they are with each other. And then you also talked about when they left the training room or the forum room, the leader would always say, so could you tell us that one? It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I've
Thank you.
stolen it.
Oh, it's such a privilege to be with them because there's no one who's like more out there in terms of being themselves. You know, they don't have a lot of pretense wrapped around them. And so one of the things that I learned from them is that there's not a certain way that people must look that demonstrates that they're with you. You know how we oftentimes think that people need to be looking at you and paying attention and sitting quietly or listening to you. Well, that is not the experience of all those children that I got to be with. They moved around and they would unravel their socks and they would eat their name tags and they did all manner of things. But in one moment, you'd ask a question and every hand would go up. So I learned that human beings don't need to fit the way we think they should look if they're getting what we're saying, or if they're with us. They are. Keep speaking, keep engaging with them because they are hearing you. And one of the things about the children is their light comes in. They come in with their light on. And it seems that as we go along through life, sometimes our light gets dim. It gets turned down by the times that we are disappointed or hurt or scared. So what we always would do with each other is remind each other to make sure your light's turned on so that people can find you.
Oh, I
Be able
love
to
that.
be with you.
Whoa.
So that was the joy and the privilege of learning from them. Just like we have a lot to learn from each other
But
each day.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you,
steal
Julia.
that one. Make sure your light's turned on so people can find you.
That's
Yep.
right. That's right. Mark, was there something you'd like to say?
Well, you said a few minutes ago, you brought up the whole possibility of being playful in these conversations.
Yes.
And, what we're doing here at with the Climate Restoration Foundation is we're learning how to talk about climate restoration. It's kind of a brand new thing. We're learning how to talk about it to individuals, and we're starting to figure out how to talk to other organizations about it and have them take this on and realize this is their own mission as well as what they're doing. But this whole notion of being playful is just a blast to think about that. And there's so much grimness around this issue of the climate, just despair.
Yeah.
So
Very
the
clear.
possibility of bringing some playfulness and even some room to be imperfect and awkward, and as Julia was talking about, all that. And I'm going to be going to the United Nations conference in November, the COP29 international conference. Every nation sends a delegation.
Wow.
And where the world's trying to figure out how we're going to deal with the climate crisis. So looking at having a lot of conversations, and I just love adding this to my repertoire.
It's great.
It's really remarkable, Mark, what you're up to, and we certainly acknowledge you for putting yourself way out there. And just something about playing, children play naturally. You don't see them hesitating or being worried about it. You look at a 2-year-old and they just walk around and they'll stand in front of you and just look at you. They are with you. They are engaged with you. So while I say playing, I don't think of it as being frivolous. What we're up to matters. It really does matter what we're up to, that we step out and that we speak up. But at the same time, doesn't mean we can't have an experience of engaging, being with each other, because that's what it looks like when you're playing. You're just being together. And then the words will show up that are meant to be said.
Yeah, we're
Let
inviting
it
you.
happen.
Turn on your light. Return to your childlikeness.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you, Mark. That's great. We're out there rooting right behind you.
You have 2 other people.
Yep, Maureen and Greg, and then Andy, and then we'll be completing this part.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, am I on? Yeah. Oh, and so just quickly, it occurred to me that it's so much easier to get rejection or get, the turnaround from even friends or community But that family of yours, oh my gosh. You
They're
know,
tough.
like they're really, really tough when they disagree with you and they don't want to hear you. And, you know, like you've grown up with them and you think, you know, you're in the same environment and they vehemently disagree with you. And that's the hardest for myself. That's when I back off or I get more aggressive and go like, you know, derogatory to them.
Yeah,
I mean, that's politely saying that.
yeah.
And but that's the hardest thing to do. And you know, I remember somebody saying long ago, you know, like if you can make peace with your family, you know, you really are making peace with the world. I kind of get that.
Yeah.
Because your family, when they disagree with you, it hits very, very hard.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, you know, a lot of the time, you know, you just try, you end up avoiding it. And but you don't want to avoid it because that's not who you are. That's actually dimming your light, right? Would you
Yes.
say
Yes.
that? Yeah. So you still gotta shine bright, but it's with trepidation.
If you're
It really
willing to,
is.
yeah, and if you're willing to actually communicate your fear that you're afraid, watch
Yeah.
the fear begin to dissipate. Then communicate your concerns or what you're afraid of some more and watch it dissipate some more. Not in order for anything, just watch the fear dissipate as you tell the truth about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that. But that is the hardest area.
Yep.
And it is an area that is you don't really get away from. It's always
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's the
I
biggest
appreciate
fear.
I appreciate what you're saying,
Mhm.
but I wanted to bring that up that is the biggest obstacle. It seems like rejection is so much easier from other than your family. Even
Mhm.
if you say it doesn't really matter, it does. You
Oh,
know,
you bet it does.
Still blood is so thick.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Maureen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So part of this conversation that really triggered me is we're trying to connect with people. Well, you put that on top of, well, how do children connect with people they don't know? They ask for help. And they're quite shameless about it. They might be a little timid, but when they don't have all the tools and the social skills and the vocabulary, they say, can you help me? Can you help me tie my shoes? Can you help me up the stairs? They just walk up to you and open their arms to you?
Mm.
What if we were those children? Who could resist a request for assistance? I mean, look at all over the world. The poorest people in the world, they drop a bomb and everyone runs to help.
Yeah.
They got nothing. They don't even have a place to live, but they'll run and help their neighbor.
Yeah.
Why aren't we asking for help with climate change and restoration? Why are we trying to convince people? Why aren't we just committed to this? And I could really use your help. How about it?
I think a couple of thousand years ago, somebody invited you to become a child again.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you.
They treated him badly for it, but the principle worked.
Yeah,
But,
All
but
right.
we
We are
adults are
those
too
people.
afraid, right? Yeah.
but we are them.
Yes, yes.
Do we have time for Andy to be our last person? I know our time is just about up, so I just want to be sure.
Where'd Andy go?
Where did Andy go?
Right here. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you
Oh,
are.
there's Andy.
Andy, can you be really
Yes.
succinct? Thank you.
Yes, two key takeaways. Thank you so much for this sharing from Julia. Permission to not have to have it all figured out. To stand in the commitment and share. Second piece, you said it, Sandy. If I letting some consideration get in my way and I don't share, I'm making it about me.
That's right.
And that's not my commitment. So being mindful of when those little conversations come up, I don't know if I'm ready to, just recognizing this is not about me, stand in the commitment and open my mouth.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep your light turned on and get out there. All right. Thank you so much. It was so fun to be with you and to engage with you and explore with you. And, just here we are together. We're going to go out there, aren't we?
Yes.
Let's make it happen.
Right.
Not make it happen. Let's allow it to happen.
A little
Mhm.
child shall lead you.
And keep your light
That's right.
turned on.
And ask for help. Ask for everybody's help. I got
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
And thank you, Sandy and Lon, for, helping us, and we help each other. Just wonderful.
It was our pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
to be with you all.
Thank you.
Yes.
Been
Peter Vikowski, you, as the founder of the whole field of climate restoration, is there anything you'd like to say here? Just to, a sentence or two.
Well, first of all, thank you everybody for being here. I love the idea of first of all, if I don't share, I'm making it about me. That is so embarrassing. I love it. Because there's, there are so many times that I'm not sharing. And indeed, it's about me. So I could actually ask for help. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, who would I ask for help? Could be everyone.
Yeah.
But my gosh, yeah, I'm 69. That's a hard work. There's a lot of exercise to actually ask for help. I mean, I've spent 69 years getting smart. and that's sort of the booby prize. It's actually the being able to ask for help. And obviously we have a lot of people here who have come to, help's the wrong word, but to play. But I want to acknowledge myself and this whole team. It's like we are here asking for help because that's why we're here. And so as much as I think I can observe myself not wanting to ask for help, it's like we're not too bad at that.
Yes.
So it's a skill that I can easily grow. So that's what I'm taking away is ask for help. And the other thing I can see is looking. I was looking at who would am I too embarrassed to ask for help from? And yes, my last call, they were saying, well, you should ask Dr. Jim Hansen to help you with the satellite project. I'm thinking, oh, he's way too busy. And I got, that's me. That makes it about me.
That's great.
Outstanding.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Let's
Thank
rock
you.
and roll.
This
All
is your
right.
community. Come
Yes,
dip in
it
the
is.
well. This is what the calls are for.
Keep
Empowering
your light
each other.
turned on.
I just want to remind you all, we do this every week. We don't always have a special guest, but every week we get together in our community call at the same time. And if I have your contact information, I think I have everybody's except for maybe Judy and Brian Manley. We would just love, and Ginny Weintraub, I think you're new to our group here too. I just saw Judy put in her contact info. That's really great. We love seeing you here, and we hope that you come back again and again and again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Thank you.
And
Bye.
Peter,
Thank you all.